All right, so still talking women's basketball. DeSales is having a tremendous season, 27-2 this year. Those two losses came in a span of 3 games at the turn of November to December. They lost to Scranton 63-58. Oh, by the way, they're still playing in the NCAA Tournament. And they beat Gwen and Mercy, and then they lost to Sage in a game that even their own players would tell you was a head-scratcher. They've been undefeated since. Got a win over Middlebury, 70-55, to advance to the Sweet 16 round of the tournament. They now will head to Brunswick, Maine, to the home of Bowdoin. Well, they'll take on Ithaca in the Sweet 16. What should we expect of the Bulldogs? I have said it a few times. This might be the best Bulldogs team that's ever taken the floor. What does Fred Richter think about that? Joining us on the Blue Frame Technology Hoopsville Hotline is the aforementioned Fred Richter. And, Coach, you got a really good team on your hands. Is this one of the better teams you've ever coached?
Absolutely. They're certainly in the top 3 and sort of a whole different category in their own. We usually rely on some big-time scorers and play some good defense. This group relies on pressure defense, full court, the whole game, and it doesn't matter who scores. We have 8, 9 kids that are capable of scoring double figures any night, and it sort of keeps us mysterious to other teams as well.
Yeah, you feel like you've got more options with this squad than even your last Sweet 16 unit. It feels like you've got, if you're going to shut down one, there's 3 others that can hurt you. And defensively, you definitely feel like a strong unit. But, man, you're putting up a lot of points this year, Fred.
Well, most of it's defense generated. We really do get a lot out of the deflections, the steals, the rebounds and go. We just we put a lot of pressure on the ball, and it gives us opportunities in the open court. And we do have one of the best point guards in all of Division III in Morgan Vermillion, who makes sure that the ball gets to the right people when we do get on the run. And, in fact, many times she's the one who gets the ball and can go coast to coast, as she often does.
Again, you're going on this long run since you lost. I mean, your 2 losses were Scranton and Sage. And when you had your senior captain on the team or on the show, she talked about that Sage one being a bit of a head scratcher. What happened in that stretch? Granted, Scranton's a good team. We're nothing against that. But what happened in that stretch? And did it almost kind of re-trigger something with this unit that you guys have held on to since?
Well, we sort of broken the season up into some realities of what our team was about. We were a little disappointed in our team last year, and we played a number of teams that beat us early. So we called that our revenge tour, and we were scoring and pressing like crazy and scoring over 100 points in games. And then we got to Scranton, who was awfully good, a little more seasoned than we were because we were starting 2 freshmen after those first 5 or 6 games, and we went up there and had a tough injury to Leandra Sterner that we had to deal with her not being able to play much in the second half, and that transition was a problem. But we lost an awfully good team on their home floor, and that's what made us think that we can be who we think we can be. Unfortunately, 3 days or 5 days later, we went to Sage and forgot that you have to defend and that every game's for real and that people don't roll over just because you scored 100 points a few times and played Scranton tough at Scranton. And Sage deserved to win. They came to play. They made plays at the end of the game that we didn't. And from that, we called those 2 games our reality check. And ever since then, we've been on our MAC run. Our MAC run has ended, and now we're on our NCAA run. And the girls have just bought into the whole defensive thing and getting the pressure in every game, not when they feel like it, not when the opponent is supposed to be excellent, just being in a consistently defensive mindset.
Yeah. You have 3 seniors on this team. You're led by one scoring-wise in Leandra Sterner at 14 points a game. You also, Sterner's only played in 14 games, but Samantha Shinkus is actually your other leader at 13.2. The other senior, who I was trying to get to, before I botched that one, Morgan Bermelin at 13.1 points a game, and Avery Jordan is your other one in double figures at 11.9. You've got that senior leadership, but it's also these underclassmen who are stepping up at just the right times as well, is it not?
Absolutely, almost from day one, to be perfectly frank. Sammy Shinkus and Avery Jordan have started every game, every scrimmage. they just fit in right away. They caught on real quickly that our seniors were selling defense as well, and they got themselves ready. They're pretty tough kids. They come from the same high school. They know each other really well. It was good chemistry, and again, senior leadership that got them involved right away, as well as the other 3 freshmen who right now we have a rotation of 9 with Leander Sterner done for the season.
Right.
And that rotation of 9 has 5 freshmen in it.
And that's amazing. I mean, you're willing to go that deep into some, well, and granted, at this point, freshmen aren't freshmen anymore, but
True.
they haven't gotten any NCAA experience either. So you're willing to go deep into some who haven't been in those situations before, and it's working well.
Well, they're just tough kids. They want to play. They understand big games. Don't get me wrong, but it's not like it gets in the way of their performance.
Sure.
They're just hungry. They want to do well. They don't like to let each other down as teammates, especially on the defensive end, and that's really what makes us tick.
So you've got some quirky pregame stuff. I'll have to admit. I believe it's Morgan, the one who does the crazy dance after starting lineups are announced. I'm surprised you haven't gotten involved with that, Coach. I know you're a big dancer. But then Emma Stanfield is singing the national anthem too. You got anybody else do juggling? Does anybody else do ball tricks? What else is going on in pregame that we should know about?
You probably hit it all except for trying to bang the door down to the basketball closet, of which many years ago we were banging on it so hard that we did break the cabinet that had all the equipment in there. The girls do get excited, and our traditions are fun, and they're all student-generated. Morgan's dance just started, and Emma sang the national anthem at all of our high school games.
Wow.
And after we had a local choir do the first game, we decided to stay live the rest of the year, and she loves doing it. She did it before the doubleheader, and we played the second game in the NCAA game the other day.
You can insist that she do it up there in Brunswick?
If they asked her, I know she would. She really enjoys it.
I would just tell them that she's going to do it. I'd just throw a curveball, see what they say.
I've been around long enough to know when you go into somebody else's territory, they're not real big on trying to take over.
I'll make some calls for you. By the way, I also told that this is coming from your friend Mark Simon. By the way, Molly Jansko celebrated her birthday yesterday. He points out something that I think is really hard to do. She was a starter last year. She's now coming off the bench in a role play. That can sometimes be hard for players to adjust to. Obviously, we're all built as athletes that you go from role player to starter unless you're lucky enough to already be there. To go from starter to role player can sometimes be a time warp or a brain flip for people. How has she adjusted, and how has that worked?
Well, we played Molly at the 4 for her first 2 years, and she wasn't that comfortable, and we kept feeling that she would be a tremendous 4 at our level. At the end of the year, she told me she'd much rather be a 5. At the beginning of this year, we realized we brought 2 talented 4s in with a whole different makeup than Molly that gave us some offense from the outside that we didn't get from her. So when we told Molly that she was going to be vying for the 5 position and probably coming off the bench, she actually said thank you, mostly because she was very comfortable being a 5. Molly has bought into the whole collective success thing. She's not one of these kids who is just wondering what happened or getting into the whole drama of what changed. She just accepted her role and plays awfully hard. One of the reasons I think we do well is our 10, when we had Leander, would go head-to-head every night in different groups of who was blue and who was white. So Molly got to play against a 6'2" kid every night, and Bridget got to play against a 6'1" kid every night, and our 6 guards in the rotation were banging heads every night. So it made us, it seasoned us rather quickly. It got us into the whole understanding that we were all in this together. It didn't matter who started, even though we have a set 5 that only changed once Leander left.
Sure.
But they get it. They're happy for each other. It's fun to be part of.
So ahead of you is Ithaca. Interesting enough, you beat a South Region team in Shenandoah in the first round. You beat a Northeast Regional team in Middlebury in the second. You'll now face off in an East Regional team for the right to face off against East or Northeast. That was just my little way of having some fun. I know it's early. You haven't dove that much into the Bombers necessarily, but it's two teams who were hosting this weekend who are now both on the road up at Bowdoin. What are you expecting from Ithaca, or what do you guys need to do to make sure you're still playing come next Saturday?
Well, it's real important that we not lose our identity, and I think we made that very evident in the first two games. We are who we are. There's no secrets. We're going to put some full court pressure on. We're going to try to get points out of transition. We're going to try to make offenses uncomfortable, and then we're going to attack. And I have this thing, and it's finally come to fruition, that if you're going to be a very good NCAA team, you have to be able to score double figures at every position. And between the two kids that play each position, we do that. And it's fun for us to combine their numbers and show them to them, of which they're very happy about, so that they're doing their part. So we can score double figures at the 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And it does add to the frustration of trying to limit certain things that we do.
Interesting. That's a great way of looking at it. Quickly, do you know your travel plans? I suspect, obviously, it's going to be by bus, but will you be stopping at LL Bean on the way up?
Well, we have an LL Bean right in Center Valley.
Yeah, but you don't have an LL Bean like they do in Freeport, Fred. That's another city up there.
I believe me, I've been there. But our girls are typical middle-class kids. The money they have might be a couple extra pennies left over from their meal money.
Yeah,
they're not of the age for LL Bean to begin with, and that's my age store. And
hey, I like that place too, Fred.
That's what I mean.
Ew, gee, you're calling me old, or are you calling you young? Which one?
No, I'm calling you middle-aged, I think.
Oh, okay. I got to be realistic. Yeah, you're right.
Today's teenagers just don't shop that much at LL Bean. They really don't.
Fair. It's a wonderful place. I'll say that much. There was a shameless plug for Maine. That place went from a regular little store to a ginormous campus in my time up there, and it's amazing. So I just had to sneak that one in. How are your travel plans, though? You guys heading up on Wednesday or Thursday? What's the battle plan? And I'm figuring, about an 8-hour trip?
We have. Somebody said 6 hours, 40 minutes. I'm thinking 7.5.
Okay.
Bottom line is we want to leave on Wednesday after we get a practice in the morning.
Got it.
So that we have some rest for Thursday and Friday, and go from there. So we haven't gotten that into full tilt yet, although the NCAA organization that pushes, we have to use their bus transportation, go through them, has already suggested that we leave on Wednesday, and I agree. But Gracia Pirelli, our women's administrator, and I will be meeting tomorrow and getting those details straightened out.
Well, it's fun to be talking about those details this time of year. That is for sure.
How about it?
Yeah.
How about it?
Well, hey, appreciate the time. Thanks so much for joining us, talking about your Bulldogs and having some fun with us as well. Congratulations at winning and moving on. Good luck this weekend. As always, we give the coach the final word. Any final thoughts you'd like to share with those who may be tuned in?
Well, I think it's an honor to be involved with D3 Hoops. I've been in this a long time. You've done wonderful things for Division III basketball, and I just appreciate what you do.
Well, thank you. I appreciate the time. I appreciate you coming on. Good luck. Keep BJ in line for me if you don't mind.
I will do that.
Keep Mark in line, since I know he's listening. Keep him in line for me as well. And
I will do that as well.
Awesome. Take care, and we'll talk to you soon.
All right. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Again. Take care.
Fred Richter joining us here on the Blue Frame Technology Hoopsville Hotline. Again, the Bulldogs heading up to Bowdoin, Maine, where they will take on, not Bowdoin, Maine, Brunswick, Maine. They're heading up to Bowdoin. They'll take on Ithaca in their first game. Should they win, it's New Paltz or Bowdoin on the other side.